we think American. You know,
Right.
we
Should be
think in
easy to get
American
married,
terms,
right?
And if you've never been to a foreign country like Russia, when Russia was really Russia, and of course there's still problems today, but so we couldn't find nobody to marry us. So we would go to their homes, and you had to get married by a Russian Gregorian Orthodox priest. That was the law. So I didn't have the paperwork quite yet. They were going to give it to us at some point. So we would find out from somebody, a neighbor or a relative, of the name of some guy, and we go to his home, and first thing he would ask me, he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "American." And they were just scared. They were afraid to do it. And so we kept praying, and finally we heard of a guy that might do it. We went to his home, inside his humble home, sat in the kitchen, just, you know, humble beginnings and surroundings in there, and we told him the whole story. He said, "If you can provide me the paperwork from ZAGS, that's Russian Bureau of Marriages in Moscow, that they have given you permission, not just verbalize it, not a story, but if you can hand me that paper." I said, "The day you meet us at the church, I'll hand you that paper." Well, I had no idea. I just believed God was going to do it. So that day, there's hundreds of people. There's professors, communist professors that are there, and Christians that are there, pastors that are there. They hear about this story. They all show up, and we're walking up the walkway to enter this old church building. And a guy from the Bureau of Marriages in Moscow, which is thousands of miles away, how he even did it, or they gave him permission, he did it on his own. He handed me the paperwork as I was walking up the sidewalk. And the priest, the moment that happened, Dr. Dub, the priest came out of the door, and he did like this. Now, he didn't see this. I handed him the paper. He had no idea where it came from.
Oh, my goodness.
So, you know, God worked it out.
Okay, so you
Nothing
get
that
married.
God cannot do.
You get married, and we have the picture. You can see with the ceremony, but the story's not over yet. There you see, they're getting married. There's the priest, and there's Alan picking up Anoosh right there and carrying her.
She had never seen that before.
Oh, really?
No, she had never seen that. You don't do that over there. I picked her up. What are you doing? She thought I was going to throw her away.
Crazy Americans.
You know? Exactly.
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so, but this is the thing, guys. They get married, and then Alan has to leave.
That's
right. Her behind.
I had a 90-day visa.
90
That's all you
days.
could stay. But you could, under the table, pay the doctor. So her brother-in-law, who's 6'6", 320,
Jeez.
professional boxer over there, right? Her other brother was big as well, right? So they were pretty adamant about.
They were influential.
Very good word. Very influential. Okay. He said, "You will go to the doctor. You will get under the table." So he was going to pay for it. So we go see the doctor. The doctor was a believer, and he said to me, "I will give you the permission slip if you answer several questions about the Bible." I remember this so many years ago. One of the questions was, "How many pieces of silver was Jesus betrayed?" How many of us watching right now can just remember that number?
30.
So he asked me a number of Bible questions, and I answered all of them, and he said, "I'll give you permission." He said, "You're a real Christian." So, but I didn't do it. I didn't want to do it under the table. I wanted to be God and God alone, and God had showed us that it was going to happen that way. So we found him at a priest that would marry us, got into his house, and that's how it happened. And so the rest is just a wonderful story how God put us together and got us married.
Well, so how soon did you have to leave after the marriage ceremony?
4 days.
Yeah. You had 4 days.
Yeah.
And then the guy that you met in the airport said he's still waiting on his wife for 7 years. So what happened? How long did you wait for Anoosh to come to America?
Not quite 1 year. And what's interesting is that the Bureau of Marriages that kept those records, that had our records, caught on fire, and the building and those records burned to the ground.
Yes.
And yet, despite the fact that the records were gone, burned, I think that was the enemy trying to destroy what God was doing. But they were burned to the ground, and they allowed Anoosh to go to be free. And so ultimately, we were able to get her whole family, her mom and dad and brothers and sisters.
So that was a miracle, though, right?
Yes, it was.
That was a supernatural miracle, because it had never been done. When you ask people over there, through her, you know, can we do this, or what's the rule? They didn't know.
Right.
They just sort of looked at you, because they were always afraid to do something that the KGB would step in. And as we walked around doing things and tried to go to these underground meetings, and I preached while I was there, these KGB followed us all over the place. There were guys on one side of the street, guys on the other side of the street. And so they wanted this. I jumped out of a second-story building one time to get away from the KGB, to get to a meeting, so they wouldn't find out where we're
Wow.
going.
Loving what you see? Then be sure to hit like, leave us a comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone who you know needs this kind of encouragement.